Hello to all you connoisseurs out there in the ether. Welcome to The Delicious Recipe with your host Adele here on UPRN 107.7 FM, New Orleans Talk Radio. And you can check us out listening live in many different places. If you're listening on YouTube, it is on the UFO Paranormal Radio channel that we have going right now. The other one is still down. And there's a live chat that's involved in that too as well. And Facebook as well. You can watch along live, send comments, and I'll see whatever comments are down there. I believe also Twitch and Twitter has something live there going as well. And that all sort of jives all together with StreamYard. Still getting new to this process, but we'll figure it out there sooner or later. Anyways, tonight I called this one Bear Claws, going with our food-themed recipe show titles and that. And tonight I have a guest here. I guess you'd say a film documentarian. I've been on other shows there. I've watched it quite a bit, and I got connected with him through my other third there, Laura Lee, and told me, he says, hey, this guy's talking about some stuff that you're sort of been talking about. So I'd like to introduce you to all out there to Dee McCauley.
Hi there.
So Dee, I just want to ask you there, how did what sort of interests are you sort of following along there with the film stuff and music, I guess, and everything like that you've been doing here lately?
Oh, geez. Well, basically everything, like when you get into film production, you get also into the music side of things, and you start making, whether you're scoring for your documentary or you're creating scary sound effects and stuff like that. So I've done all that stuff for everything that I've done. Pretty much everything that I do comes out of just out of creativity. The need of making something. You're independent. You're not depending on anyone else. But there are times where I've had to go license music or license some video and stuff like that. But most of the time, it all comes down to me making the stuff myself, basically. So it keeps me busy doing like I said, the music and sound effects, and also, all the shooting is all pretty much done by me. So yeah, I stay pretty busy.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. So some of the topics that you've been talking about that I've been sort of talking about has been like the little people, and you have shows like also with UFOs. You did Northern Lights, Sasquatch on Lake Superior. See, I'm from Thunder Bay. You're just down a hop, skip, and a jump away from me here, I guess,
Yep.
because you've done a lot of stuff talking with the Nipigon Red Rock area, and
Yep.
and I did a lot of stuff like through my years prospecting, working with the Ministry of Environment, camping, fishing, stuff like that. Like Thunder Bay District, I've spent a lot of time in the bush traveling around, and I haven't had some of the experiences that some of these documentarians have had, or not, are the people you've had in your
Yeah.
But what have you found through your stuff? And I just want to mention too that it's Dee McCauley, Dark Histories / Thunder Striker Films, correct?
Dee McCauley. Yeah.
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 So if people want to go and check out your site there on YouTube there, that's where I've been watching a bunch of your videos and that. But what have you sort of found in your film career talking with people about these little people or Sasquatch and stuff like that?
Well, it's a very few people, but like some of them have short little stories or anecdotes about the little people and stuff, and it all comes down, like from history and stuff too, that they've heard these stories as well. That these creatures are like in the rocks, they're in the water, they're in the grasslands. It's all surrounding Lake Superior, um, the northern shore, basically up here in say Red Rock, Thunder Bay, Nipigon, stuff like that, and even Gull Bay up into Lake Nipigon and stuff. And there's a spot up here in the bay, Nipigon Bay, where there's a flat rock that comes down and it just juts right into the water. And that's where it's supposed to be like a legendary, magical place where these little people are said to dwell. That there's some kind of an underwater spirit, an evil spirit under there, but the Mimigwashi protect those who travel through the bay. And also what they say about this area too is that at the Doghead, which is connected to that very rock, you have that rock that goes into the water, and you go up from there and heads directly into Ruby Lake. And above Ruby Lake is the Doghead, what they call. If you're in Nipigon, Ontario, and you go down to the marina and you look across, you'll see something in the shape that looks like a dog's head made out of flat rock.
Right.
That area there, that's where they say the little people dwell up in there. I've never checked it, but I always wanted to. But what the story, how the story goes is that if you, I don't know whoever figured this out, but if you leave a cup of water there, it'll get tipped over by the little people. That's one of the native legends. And also, I've heard from a number of people that yes, there are little people there. Even the elders in Lake Helen or the Red Rock Indian Band, that's what they're saying too. Yes, there are little people there. Even on the res itself, the Red Rock Indian Band or Lake Helen, whichever you, whatever, however you want to say it. There's
Right.
even like been a story that there was one of them in someone's house as well in the middle of the night, and they thought they were gathering forks.
Yeah.
Pretty weird stuff, but they're
You
yeah.
see,
Oh,
that
go ahead.
that's sort of an interesting thing is that when I've looked at stories and talked to people across Canada and sort of North America about how in the native uh, reserve people that this is sort of a really known history. I really didn't know that this was actually a common thing. That it was actually more common talking about little people than it was about Sasquatch. Did you
Yeah,
find?
yeah. It seems to be.
Oh, to be. Oh, I think we just got a little the destiny, a little cancel or not cancellation, but something sort of just went off there. See if Joe's around there to reconnect there. How something sort of went. Maybe it was a little person there cut the wire somewhere, but we'll see if we can get D Macaulay back here again. It's the first time for everything that happens here. So let me just text Joe there quickly and see if he's listening. Hopefully he is. Uh, Joe. And wow, this is a snafu that I didn't expect to happen there. Uh, let's see. Joe lost connection. And he's back again there.
Hello.
Can you
You
hear
can
us?
hear me,
There we
right?
go. That's what just saying. It says talking about the little people, and all of a sudden, boom, somebody cut your line.
Yeah, they're said to be tricksters. So it could be one of their little tricks because I live right here in that area.
Yeah. Well, that's like, how did you find, anyways, or talking to people about this when you've done your research in that? Uh, there's been stories about tales that through the reserves and that talking with native people about that is that you don't whistle in the woods. You don't if you come across somebody playing music or dancing out there, you walk away, you go away from them because they'll follow you back to your home and cause
Mhm.
mischief and stuff like that. And then I was reading or watching another story about that is that there's a way to break that sort of that connection in that. Did you find any of that stuff?
Okay, well, here's some of the notes that I had prepared for the documentary.
Yeah.
It said scary stuff. Okay, so it's said to be bad luck if you see one. Can
Right.
bring harm just by staring. So if you know if it's just staring at you, it can bring harm like that. Other stories mention they could follow you home and cause trouble. See, that's like what you said there.
Yeah.
They can throw stones, cause rock slides, and push people off cliffs on rare occasions. They also can break into homes and steal shiny objects like forks and knives.
Hmm.
Some people believe if you come across one and it causes trouble, they can be appeased by leaving food out for them.
Right.
While others say if you see one, just walk away in the other direction.
Hmm. See that's interesting. There's that part of the story. Then you have other parts of the story that go into is that people have gone, like little kids in that, or even adults as well, have gone and they've disappeared to somewhere and then come back, and there's been missing time. Time has transpired and stuff like that, and they went to somewhere else. And there's actually even some stories that people that come back aren't the same anymore. They don't view the world the same way that they did beforehand. And the part about throwing rocks there, I wonder if that sort of gets to the whole thing there of the trickster stuff. If people think that that could be Sasquatch as well, because there's been stories of good Sasquatch and bad Sasquatch and different tribes of them all throughout North America, different stories that relay a different type of encounter.
Right. Well, that's kind of what I tried to reinforce with the documentary. That what it came down to was um, the the people of Gull Bay. They believe that they're not just little people, but they're actually shape shifting beings that they can go and turn into like Sasquatch, basically.
Oh wow.
So these things are generally believed to be shapeshifters. And when you start getting into shapeshifters and stuff like that, you're getting into a lot of tricks being played, bad spirits and stuff like that, knocking on doors and windows and trying to scare people and stuff like that. You know, the same thing happened to me back in 1990, 94, 95, something like that. Um, where I'd be like trying to go to sleep at night at my parents' house, and trying to watch a movie, and I just fall asleep basically. And next time I'm getting these really hard raps on the window, and I couldn't figure out what it was. It scared the heck out of me. So I started asking friends at school after a while, what's happening? And no, we're not coming to your house. Why would we come there that late at night and stuff like that? It's not us. And I was like, okay, sure. It keeps happening. Finally, I tell my cousin about it, my cousin Jeff. And he says, yeah, sure, whatever. No, come stay over and check it out. It's probably going to happen. Okay, he comes over. So we're sitting there watching a movie or something like that. And there it was, these really hard raps on the window. It sounded like bony knuckles hitting so hard it was almost ready to break the glass.
Wow.
So the way the basement bedroom was, you could just tilt the window right open. Is easily just like that. You just give it a little pull and open it up. We looked outside. There was no one there. We climbed out of the window. This is like 11, 12 at 12 in the morning, something like that. 11 o'clock at night. We ran all over the property. I go this way, you go that way. We did the whole property, and it's a big property. There was nobody out there, and he could not explain that. And now thinking about it nowadays, it could have been something like that. You know, in the old days, a man came from the Hudson's Bay Company to, I guess, check out the fur trade, how the dealings would be with people in Lake Helen Band and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, they said they had moved there. They were actually from Parmachene. Parmachene's just up the Nipigon River, and that they were pushed out of there by some kind of being, monstrous being, and they called it the what was that called now? Okay, I can't remember the word for it. It was Monzo Khan, the Monzo Khan. They said it was interpreted as the word interprets to as like a bad spirit. That they encountered this thing in the woods, and it followed them back to their dwelling. It started throwing rocks and screaming, and at one point it even kidnapped a girl. And they sent out a search party the next day to go check it out, what was happening, where she was. And they came across her, and she was running through the woods, all scratched up from the thicket, screaming. She got back and said, yeah, there was a giant creature that took her. And then it got so bad to the point that one of the villagers was killed by this creature, and they had to go down the Nipigon River, cross over, and make a brand new dwelling over there at Lake Helen Band.
Wow, eh?
So that's one of the big stories about that. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, very weird.
See, this is the interesting thing that I found. Like, this is why I find this this topic so interesting. And I'm trying, like I do on here, like I talk about conspiracy, mystery, world issues, and stuff like that. But I find this whole mystery of something else out there is sort of fascinating. That people have these encounters, and they all are either positive or negative in some of them. Some of them are actually really positive encounters where there was actually helped a lost child that came out and came to be back to the road area where somebody else was able to discover it or something like that. Or there's other ones where there's been these weird missing time areas, or there's been abductions. Did you come across any sort of stories like that at all?
No abduction stories, but it does bring to mind two of them if I could remember them. One of them was in the documentary where the guy was on what reserve was that now? Rocky Bay, McDermott. And he said he went outside and he found his shoes were misplaced and they were off by the woods, or yeah, just on the bush line, I guess. And they're exactly facing each other. And he had the feeling that something was trying to draw him out closer to the woods, or to actually get him in the woods so they can, maybe something weird would happen, that he'd get kidnapped or something like that. He was kind of scared, but he grabbed his shoes and ran back, I guess, to I guess, well, he thought that's what it was the little people playing tricks.
Oh, we lost them again. We'll be back. I guess our show there is the little people don't like talking about the little people. So this is really interesting. Wow, eh? That's a par for the course. But just to go on with other parts about this is if you check out Dee's site there on YouTube, and it's Dee McCauley, and you'll see his picture there, and then you can check out some of his why am I calling documentaries? Documentaries, and there's one about called Northern Lights, and it deals with stories of people talking about UFOs or sightings and stuff like that. It's sort of interesting, and the stuff that was actually in a local newspaper up here in Northern Ontario. Let's see if I can get Joe back here again, and hopefully he hasn't gone off too far, and see if he'll come back on. Let's see. Sorry about this. I'll go like that. Or see if he's there. Or otherwise, I would be talking to myself here for a little bit. But hopefully, Dee will be able to join back in again here. And the part is that a lot of these stories, the stuff that he's had here, that I've watched actually quite a few of them. There's sort of interesting to have how these stories that people talk about something that they've cited or something that they've come across, and a lot of people that, especially I'll say with the native reserves and that, and also with hunters, is that they are very particular about what they see. They know what type of animal looks like. They know what a moose is. They know what a bear is. They know what a lynx is. They know sounds and stuff like that. And some people that come across something that isn't in the norm that they notice, that isn't a bear or a moose or a wolf. Like there was even talk there that there was no timber wolves in Northern Ontario. When I used to work for the Ministry of Environment and dealing with the MNR, they would talk about there is no cougars in Northern Ontario. There is no timber wolves that are around the vicinity here, but people have cited them, and I've seen them myself too as well. And they're in there, but that comes into this whole political game about they don't want to scare people on certain aspects, and this could actually fall into the same line there. But anyways, Dee, as you were going on there, just chatting a little bit there too. That's there. So go on, continue.
Well, the guy that his shoes were taken, when he found his shoes, he found out there was little wee baby footprints all around his shoes, which was quite strange. So that was another. He definitely thought there were little people playing tricks on him. Mm-hmm. And then he and a friend went into a cave behind the mountain, and his friend went in actually, and that's where he found little black handprints, like human handprints, all over the walls of the cave. It's a really small cave. Right. So that's very strange too. And also, he had mentioned that there's a place somewhere out there where they called it the gathering tree, where it just I guess there's little handprints there too around the tree, and that they've seen. I've never seen it, but I'd like to. There's so many places I'd like to visit.
Yeah, no doubt, eh? Just this whole part there right now with shutdown and reduced travel and stuff like that is sort of when you hear more of that. Like I've been afforded the opportunity of being a host on this network, but I'm hearing these great stories and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I wish I could go there. I wish I could travel to there, go here and go check out all these things that are not just in my immediate area. And I didn't, but by watching some of your videos and stuff like that, I didn't know there were that many stories around here in the Thunder Bay district area, which I found fascinating. And on your Northern Lights one there, which dealt with UFOs, I was going through the clips, and you had one of Oliver Lake that was on there, and I have a camp out at Oliver Lake, and I was like, I've seen some weird stuff. I always call it a mystical place because it's sort of down in a valley, very clear spring-fed water, and it really the air and the energy around there is really different. And I was always thinking to myself, it says, wouldn't it be weird if I saw like a UFO or something like that, or something weird show up around here? And then I saw the article of somebody actually seeing something out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very strange story, that one for sure. That's the kid that got abducted in the 60s up at Onion Lake, you said, right?
Oh no, Oliver Lake was the one with
the Oliver Lake. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
But Onion Lake, yes, that's another one. That's just even actually north of here too, as well, just a little bit outside of Thunder Bay as well. Why don't you tell people about that story there?
Yeah, well, that was back in the 60s. I can't remember the story exactly, but a family decided they were going to go out camping, and it was nighttime. So they went out and bounced their way down the road to Onion Lake, and they found it very odd. At that time of the year, there was no campers even out there. There should have been lots. This was like July, something like that, I'm darn sure. But anyway, there was nobody there, and it was a clear night, and they could see the moon, see the stars. And I guess the kid he was right in front of them, and then he just disappeared. They couldn't find any explanation for it, that he would just vanish right in front of them. But he claims when that happened, he had seen what he described as a plane with red and blue lights on it, or flashing lights, something like that. And oh yeah, I also forgot that the parents also saw, just before that happened, the sky just black out in front of them, like over top, and it cut out all the visibility of the stars and everything. It was like a big black disc, just overtook everything. And that's when the kid disappeared. And then the kid was finally found after I don't know how long, like 45 minutes, something like that. And the kid was not the same anymore. He claimed he saw a plane with these flashing lights, and I guess what had happened was it messed with his head after that. And he had to go to a psychiatric hospital. And they also found like a brown dime-shaped scar on his left ankle, I believe. So there's one of those weird abduction stories. It may not be little people or a Sasquatch, but it's still, this is one of those stories up here around the lake. We've got a lot of lakes and a lot of stories.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. But the thing is, so this is the part that I always have this question about it, is that you have stories of little people, which are tricksters that can shapeshift and be anything they want, can change sort of little bits of reality and take people away. You have Bigfoot that can, what they say, can sort of disappear or blend in and stuff like that. And then you have the UFO abduction stories that are going there, where people have missing time and they see something different. Could they all be the same thing, right? And if you're looking at that, is that if it's a trickster that's doing something and just implanting a thought or an image or something into your mind, because this is a thing that's been talked about before in a lot of theories, is that they put something in that you're expecting to see. So say you're really into UFOs, you're going to have like a UFO abduction, but it's actually, maybe it's a little people presenting a little, I guess, a scenario for you. Or if you're into Bigfoot, then it's a Bigfoot sighting, but it could be this shape-shifting little person. That's why I sort of find it sort of a little bit interesting.
Yeah, I've never heard that one before. That's yeah, who knows, right? It's just one of those theories, and how can it be proven though, right? That's the thing. Is everyone's got their stories and their theories if you start putting some thought into this stuff, because once you start getting into the paranormal and talking with people, you are going to get very interested. You are going to start coming up with, hearing all these stories and coming up with your own theories of how, what connects to what and everything. And, I've been there since 1993 trying to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah. Oh, we lost them again. Well, back to the little people playing tricks there. So another part there is that D was also, if I read this right, there was also on Paranormal Survivor, which Laura and I were also on, that dealt with something, and that's just the whole thing. I guess it comes down to is that I'm into sort of like, if you would say, truth seeking or trying to figure out stuff, and that's just the way that I sort of am. I want to figure out why things are sort of happening. Like if there's power outages, or if there's sort of disruption in power that's going on and it's affecting things in the house, I'm going to look for those sort of options. Like I got to go look in. It says check out, see these the hydro company having rotating brownouts, or they're having fluctuations and like stuff like that. To do all this sort of due diligence research sort of beforehand, and to get into that, and even this stuff like if looking at weather patterns, is it electrically charged? You having these electrical problems that are going on there, and not jumping to the conclusion of thinking about, okay, well, this is what it has to be, and that it could be this or that, a little person, a Sasquatch, or stuff like that. And this is where it gets into this, what I said earlier, is getting into these accounts of people having experiences with, could be ghost, paranormal in their own vicinity, their house, or out in the bush. And the other part about seeing something that isn't the norm, that isn't regular, that should be there. And a lot of people say, okay, well, they find these Bigfoot tracks that are out there, and it's a large footprint that's larger than a man's footprint. But there's also parts that they've looked at, is that sometimes when a bear walks, is that the front paw and the back paw follow into a same sort of pattern, and that which causes an elongated footstep out there. But then you have to look at the part of where the separation in distance of stride goes to, which is a little bit longer than what an average or bigger than average bear would have. And you have to put all these different sort of little factors in there. Some of them could be that it's a doubled up bear paw print. Other things that it could be that it's something that hasn't been done. And other parts is that there's also people out there that like to play pranks and trick with people. And this goes back into the part here too, is that can some of these tracks that are be out there could be these mischievous little spirits out there. And I always say around here in the house, let's see if we can get him back here. If he's trying again here, Joe. This is going to be a thing. Let's see there. Sorry about that. I'm just pausing as I'm typing here, and I can do one or two things at once here. But this comes into the whole thing is about experiencing something out there that isn't the norm, and then walking away from that is like, what was that? And that's the whole mystery that's sort of behind here. And if you look at a lot of these stories that are there, is that people that spend a lot of time out camping and out fishing or out in nature, away from the city. Like sometimes these things happen in the cities and stuff like that, and they come into people's backyards, and that's usually when there's not a lot of people during the daylight that are around and stuff like that. But a lot of these stuff happen out away from the city, and as people that are out there that are familiar with nature, and they come across something that strikes them as odd. And that's sort of really where I was getting with that point. But we're back again there, D. We have the internet little gremlins there playing around with internet connections, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like, the tricksters.
Yeah, well, that's the thing there, as I've mentioned here before. Like Laura's got a little guy that she made for me here, little guy, and but I've noticed here in the house there too as well, that sometimes we get misplaced items around in the house. And I always say that there's a little gremlin or a little trickster around running in the house. Like you can put down your phone, or you put down your keys, and all of a sudden your keys, you won't find them for a while. They'll be in the freezer, or your phone will be under the couch in a room that you were never in, like within about a couple of minutes. And there's been a lot of sort of little things like that. And I was also noting here too, you were also on Paranormal Survivor as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell people about your experience with that.
Whoa, that's quite the big story. Condensed though. It was about 2009 through 2010, 2011, about there. And we had moved into a new place. And I'm trying to make this as short as possible because it's quite a long story. Yeah, there was like, we could hear like banging in the hallway. We had an exterior hallway and then an interior in our apartment. It was one of those big connected homes, like so many apartments on it. So we all had like a public hallway and everything. We could hear things being banged around out there and stuff. Thought, oh, that's probably neighbors. We always just assumed it was this and that. Next thing we're getting, bangs, knocks, and then next thing inside our apartment, knocks, scratching on the walls, banging, and then the cupboards. We could hear plates moving around on the cupboards, smashing up against the sides. You go look, there's nothing.
Right.
Some mornings you wake up, the cupboard door's open, and maybe I left it open. I don't know, things like that. And then it progressed from there to hearing kids laughing in the middle of the night and stuff. And then it progresses even further to the feeling of being watched constantly, that there's someone screaming directly in your face, but you can't see them. That kind of energy where your hair stands on end.
Yeah.
To shadows, to seeing things scurrying across the ceiling, across the floor, nightmares every single night.
Wow.
Yeah, and next time crows in the trees, and they're just like hundreds of crows, and they're driving you nuts. You go outside, it feels nice to get outside,
Yeah.
to leave the dread of the apartment, but then the damn things are following you across the city. You go from one area to the mall, and you got a murder of crows following you, and you get the feeling that something bad's gonna happen. Maybe you're gonna die. Come back, they follow you back, and then there's in the trees cawing until 8 at night. Same thing the next day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And eventually, we had to move out for a while just to get a break. Went back, it was the same old thing. Next, July 1st, 2010, at 7:10 in the morning. So it's really weird numbers. But that's when this happened, and my girlfriend, she wanted to have a rhinoplasty done, so she went and had that done. And she's recovering the next day. It's July 1st, and so she had to sleep in the living room, sitting up, sort of.
Yeah.
And then I wake up to a blood-curdling scream because there was the sound of these heavy feet running down our interior hallway, and she screams, and then I hear her swear and then start praying. I was like, what the heck's going on? I look at the time, 7:10 in the morning. This is weird. Get up, go open the door. And as soon as I open that door, it was the air was like electrified in there. It was full of energy, and not good energy, but bad energy.
Yeah.
And I went down there, and there was her crying and everything. I tried to comfort her and ask her what that was, what made that sound, and what happened. And she finally said that there was a black dog, but it was like a baby. And it was a black dog with baby legs, and had these black eyes that were shaped like an alien's kind of thing. So they're like almond shaped.
Yeah. Oh, wow. See, that comes into the interesting part. Hopefully you can come back here again to find out a little bit more about this. And this goes into the whole other part. There is that when people have sort of experience about this, like you're going to hear a lot of naysayers says, oh yeah, it was probably just a mouse or a rat or a raccoon or a squirrel that got into your home and stuff like that. Or maybe it was sort of a little animal, or there was something that's going on there. But this is the whole thing about like even with the experience that we had, Laura and I had in the house that we were at previous, is that I went and set up cameras, and I went and inspected and looked around for droppings around there. I had cameras on the outside to see if something like to sort of break down the whole structure to find out what it isn't. And when you go through this this process of doing stuff like this, is when you start crossing things off the list that, okay, well, it isn't, there's no mice and there's no rats in the house, there's no bugs or anything like that that are going through there that can cause sort of marks or whatever in the home. You just start crossing things off the list, and you stay on top of it too to make sure that no little critter or stuff like that comes in there. Like, you keep track of all this stuff. And even with bird stuff, there is that, even in our story that Laura had mentioned there too, is that we had the same sort of a thing where we had this large group of crows that would show up, and they would and it's really, it's odd when you start to notice it there. They would sit in a tree or sit on the cars and vehicles, and they would just be all staring at the house. That's the only way that they were looking. And you would look at that and go, usually birds all don't look the same direction. If they're on a, if you'd say see them on a hydro line and stuff like that, they'd pretty much all be facing either one way or the other, whichever way they're on the line. But when they're on different objects in your yard, all around the yard, and they're all looking towards one central point, and you notice this as you're outside or looking around, that sort of can give you a sort of a feeling and a wonderment to why is this sort of happening. And then you go through the whole part. Is there food out there? Is there something? Are they, because usually crows, I believe how they are is that they're collectors of things. And then if you get into the mythology about crows and ravens, like that's a whole other part there. That all changes through even in myth and lore here in Canada, North America, and olden times. And we even talk about Odin and his two crows there. But when animals start acting weird outside and start acting a peculiar way, you have to look at all factors there are. Now, if you're looking at it in a home, depending on the age of your home, you look at what's the wiring in the house, what are the piping made of, and you have to think there too is that with the technology being out there, we have all this Wi-Fi and wireless technologies around there. Can that be sort of acting in your house to amplify something, cause some sort of weird harmonic or some sort of noise that animals are hearing or that attracts them? These are all things that you go through and you start looking at and discovering and ruling out throughout the process. That's what I do anyways. And when I'm looking at stuff, many other people have different things that they'll jump right to the next state where they bring in some sort of mystic or dispeller of spirit or something like that, which is to each their own. But that's all a part of doing research in that. But the thing is, was that that's the process going through here, and that's why I find this sort of interesting. Is that with talking to or listening and talking to people about these stories, is that a lot of them have done these steps and have gone through this. And so now it comes down to the final part there, is that everything that you know about that you can figure out, there is no effect that's going on because of that. Then you have to go and look at, is there something else? And this is why I find this also interesting, is because every culture throughout written history and history period that we've seen, they all talk about in some type, in through their stories, their lore, their mythology, holy texts, and stuff like that. They all talk about supernatural, spiritual encounters, and with beings. If you in the Bible talking about angels and stuff like that. Negative spirits that are around, and that you have just that whole part just in the Old Testament, New Testament, just in the Bible. Then if you get into Hinduism and get into the Chinese mythology, into their books, you get into all these things talking about energy flows, energy spirituality, and stuff like that. And they talk about beings out there out of our known realm, our own sort of reality that we are accustomed to. And this is a part that they don't talk about this in school. Spirituality and religion has sort of been removed from school here in Canada. they started that a long time ago when they stopped doing the Lord's Prayer, and I don't even think they even sing "O Canada" anymore in school. It's just a whole change in how process goes through a nation, how things happen that way. But a lot of stories of when people immigrated into North America, they brought a lot of these stories and beliefs with them. And then you get into this sort of this dynamic of mixing religion, thought, and old old world ideas together. Then you get this whole uh, crazy narrative and what people actually believe. But coming into this whole thing there, that hopefully D is able to make it back here before we end out here. But it's just interesting that these stories persist, and a lot of people will go, "Oh, well, that's all just make believe. Oh, that's just all in your head." But there's been too many people that you've seen throughout the world and all over the place there that talk about similar circumstances. Now, you can go and put it into the percentage there now is that they're all making it up because they all want to be famous. They all want to go and make some money and sell their story and to be special, that this is what their whole purpose. And all of them are doing that. And that's sort of that's a thought, that's a train of thought. You can go that way, but a lot of it isn't that way. Like I don't make any money off of this thing here, and just experiences that I had of just sharing my life experiences and certain things that have happened. But there's things that are you can't figure out, or I haven't figured out as of yet. And with all the technology and all the information I've gathered, I have come to no definite answer as to how certain things have happened. I haven't figured those out, and that's the sort of the mystery and the intrigue that I find in there. Says maybe later on down the line, maybe I'll figure something out. That's why I also get really fascinated in looking at magic, and I'm talking about like people like David Blaine or the Chris Angels, or just any Banachak, stuff like that. And you can go into seeing how they go and trick and do magic, and the science that's involved in a lot of this stuff there, and learning about certain things. You can sort of use that as a tool to help you figure out why something happened in your area or in your experience. And then there's a lot of things that this this sleight of hand trickery that goes on there. And that's why I find that sort of interesting too. Is that's all part of this learning knowledge basis that I'm trying to gather here. And then with this channel, they're talking with many people here, is that they get their sort of experience and knowledge, and to figure out what has happened, and to learn stuff. And like even what Dee said there, is that I guess it comes into a point, is that how do you prove this? And we've had this discussion many times on here on UPRN on our host chats, and that is that how do you actually prove this as being something that is actually what it is? And I guess that's the hardest thing. Until you have a conversation, video, in person uh, conversation with something that is not uh, something of our known reality or known existence, and that's there and it's captured and it's shared, and it can be recreated many times with the conversation changing all the time. uh, that anybody could just come up and talk to this entity or whatever. Then that, I guess, that will be sort of a little bit of proof. I guess that comes into this whole thing with this alien topic there too, is that a lot of people have had experiences, stuff like that, but until there is actual proof that's repeatable proof, or like I said, something that anybody could just come up and talk to this person, like it'd be like a neighbor down the street, and then it would be known and said, okay, yeah, these things exist. And that's, I guess, where we're sort of stuck at this sort of point there right now, is that a lot of people uh, think that they've seen these things, and I have no doubt I can't prove or unprove that. And I think a lot of people have had experiences and can't unprove those things as well. And it's just a weird thing in the mystery of. That's why I find this so interesting. And hopefully we get to talk to D there again. There, if not there, I'm for sure I'll have him back on as well there, because I'd like to find out a little bit more of his story and his experience there to see what he had there, how it refer or lines up with sort of similar things that Laura and I experienced as well there years back. And let's see, the time we were here, we're almost coming back to our end of our hour here, anyways. But like I said, there's so much mystery out there, and I just find it really interesting. And I guess if you're not looking for stuff like that, you don't notice it as much, and people really do get bogged down into the bubble of their lives and what they're doing, and they don't notice things that are peripherally or out of the box away from them. And a lot of people do have their beliefs, and they believe in certain things, and that's just the part of the programming is how they grew up, and that's what they believe. But I want to say there also there too is that while we still have a couple minutes there left, is I am still looking for your true stories of experiences, events that happened in your life, and I'm saying true. Don't. I'm not looking for made up stories and stuff like that, but just stories that you have of experience with say the paranormal. Right, paranormal could be ghost entities, anything. Could be these forest spirits, whatever, cryptids, stuff you had when you went out camping that you came across, some weird experience where there was some sort of animal that you didn't know it was. Like it could be Bigfoot, could be a little person, could be a dog man, could be the abominable snowman, could be anything, could be a skinwalker, could be the whole thing there. You saw the Loch Ness monster or some sort of beast like that. A UFO encounter or a really strange light phenomenon, weather phenomenon that was sort of out of the way. Any sort of like interesting stories that sort of are unexplained or you haven't been able to explain it. Just looking for that are out there. And you can send those to the delicious stories at gmail.com. And that's the delicious stories. So there'll be two S's between delicious stories, right? So DELICOUSSTORIES at gmail.com. And yeah, I'll keep your name confidential and stuff like that. And at time there, I'll post them, the stories there. Unless you want your name known for what it is, I'll keep that all confidential, so you don't have to worry about that someone's going to say, hey, I saw your name on there, or he talked about you at this place there. So I'll make up a name for you or something like that. But if you're able to add area and year or whatever, or time of day that this sort of happened, that all just adds into your tale of your experience. And this is it's not over a little time period here that it's going here. So just send them along there if you get a story, if you like to write in, because I know there's a lot of channels out there that do a lot of these write-in stories there, and I'm just looking for other ones that are out there as well to share them. And this is the whole thing about it, is that sharing these stories or these events that happened in your life, maybe there's somebody else out there that had a similar experience. And the whole thing about it is to sort of share knowledge, as much knowledge as you can, and maybe somebody else had a different understanding of what happened, and maybe that will shine light into what happened to you. And it's all just making this world a little bit smaller and sharing information. So we're almost at our ending time there. I want to thank Dee McCauley for being on the show with the technical problems that we had there with little people playing around, I guess, so we could joke about that. But whatever out of that, and hopefully I can have him back on again there, and we have a little bit of or better connection that happened there, so we don't keep on disappearing on each other here. And I'll say check out his YouTube site there. There's some interesting documentaries that he did, And like I said, there's one about UFO. There's ones about Sasquatch all around here of Lake Superior up here in Northern Ontario, and about that and other things, little people, a bunch of other stories. We're almost out of time there, D. Hopefully, I think you made it
Oh,
back.
there you are.
Hopefully, you make it back for the ending here, and hopefully that I'd like to have you back on again where we don't have these technical issues there if you're available again.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, whenever you'd like.
Yeah, so well, maybe we can do a part two of this maybe next week there if we can solve our technical issues. But just while we only have a couple minutes here left, just tell the people out there where they can go and view your stuff. I sort of gave a little bit of it, but
Yeah, you can find it at D. McCauley Dark History Thunderstriker Films on YouTube. That's where everything is basically, and then you can follow along on D. McCauley Dark History on Facebook as well. It's a public page. Yeah.
okie dokie. Well, that sounds good. Like with the troubles that we had here today, going back in and out there. Yeah, I says if you're interested there, maybe we could pick this up again and get it back into your paranormal survivor story there next week. And
Yep.
and well, we got coming up there. We got Trip in the Void with Laura Lee and Seraphine Hurley as they go into their show. And I just want to thank everybody out there. It says thank you for tuning in to the Delicious Recipe, and we'll see you all next week. Joe.